Most people associate the medieval era or the Middle Ages with cool-looking knights, kings, and jesters. Oh, but trust me, life wasn't very fun back then. First of all, since healthcare was still very primitive and unaffordable for regular working people, many illnesses which are easily curable today were considered fatal. There has also been a devastating epidemic known as the bubonic plague. This disease managed to wipe out around half of Europe's population at the time. And besides diseases, the feudal system had most of the population working as farmers on a lord's land. The working conditions were pretty brutal and could be compared to a form of slavery. Life expectancy was around 35 years old, which, considering all these factors, isn't really surprising. But anyway, the medieval folk had their own traditions which were very odd to say the least. So let's go through the oddest ones, shall we? Let's start off with marriages. Until the 12th century, there really wasn't any kind of ceremony like we often see today. You could literally get married in a few moments just by simply consenting to it. And because of that, it wasn't uncommon for people to randomly get married on the street or at the pub. Obviously, ceremonies had to be introduced because it was difficult to prove that people were actually married to each other. But unlike marriages, divorces were much more interesting at the time. Based on Hans Talhoffer's Fechtbuch from medieval Germany, there were instructions how a couple could engage in the so-called divorce by combat. The man would be put in a 3-foot or 1-meter deep hole, and he had one hand tied behind his back. The woman was allowed to move freely, and both of them were wearing one-piece bodysuits while also being equipped with rocks and clubs. Sure, the Romans had gladiator fights in majestic colosseums, but the medieval folk had unhinged divorce by combat events, which honestly sound much more entertaining. We can just imagine how those medieval marriage and divorce traditions would look like today.
Juliet, will you marry me?
OMG, Romeo, yes!
Oh, great. I guess that's it then. We're married now.
Yeah, this is actually pretty convenient.
Right, we don't need to plan or organize anything, and we've saved so much time and money.
A few moments later.
Actually, now when I think about it, I think I want a divorce.
I thought you'd never ask. En garde!
Obviously, beauty standards were also different during the medieval era. It's really interesting to see what was considered beautiful in different centuries and in different cultures. For medieval women, the forehead was seen as the central point of beauty. So what did they do to emphasize it? Well, they would completely remove their eyebrows and eyelashes, while also plucking their hairline back to have their faces completely hairless. So basically, those medieval beauty standards could also be used to make a pretty good Voldemort cosplay. If you think lots of people care about luxury fashion today, then wait until you see medieval fashion trends. The higher class used expensive and flashy clothes to separate themselves from the poor. One of those fashion items were pointy shoes. Even though it seems very impractical and ridiculous, the length of the pointy shoes would determine the wealth and social rank of the wearer.
I gotta say, I'm definitely richer than you.
Oh yeah? How about instead of comparing shoe size, we compare something else?
And what would that be?
Well, you know, our wieners.
Oh, of course. Like my shoes, I bet my wiener is much bigger. Oh my.
The medieval law was often unfair not only to the poor, but to the animals as well. Yes, you heard that right. From farm animals all the way to insects and even dolphins. There are records of them being put on trial. Even though it sounds like a plot from some comedy show, the animals really were assigned lawyers to defend them. Most of those trials had the animal accused of attacking humans and often ended tragically. The most absurd accusations include the case where a rooster committed the heinous and unnatural crime of laying an egg. The people at the time thought the egg was spawned by the devil himself and contained a cockatrice, a mythological being that looked like a two-legged dragon with a rooster's head. Now, if I had a time machine, I would definitely want to witness one of those trials. They must have been a blast. Now, Mr. Cricket, you wouldn't let the royal family sleep during the night by chirping all night long. Why did you do it? Well, do you have something to say for yourself? Well, there goes our suspect. Maybe we should have tied him down, huh? Well, that's it, folks. Make sure to give your pets lots of love. Thank you so much for watching and subscribe for more educational content.